Hello and welcome back to Guitars and Music Tech. Today we're going to talk about frets. How do they affect your sound and how does it change the playability of your guitar and the feel of the guitar? It's one of the most important aspects of a guitar is the frets. I always try to find frets that are a little bit higher. We call them tall frets. That means if you look at the profile and you will see that the fret is big. And what does that do? Basically, when you push your strings towards the board, the fretboard, you'll have more distance between the string trapped between two frets and the board, the fretboard. And what does that give? That will give you the ability to be able to grab the string better so that when you do bends, your skin, your finger itself doesn't touch the board, and then you can bend easier. There's no friction between your finger and the fretboard itself. That's also some people like to do a scalloped neck to get the same effect if the frets are not tall enough, and this way you will have like between the two frets they will have a little cutaway inside, so that means you have absolutely no friction between your finger and the fretboard. This is a good thing and a bad thing depending on the style of music that you're playing. If you're playing blues, that's perfect because you want to be able to grab that string and be able to bend it easier and without having too much friction. But if the fret is very thin, that means when you push it, your finger will touch the fretboard, the wood. So when you try to bend, you're basically bending the string, but at the same time, there's friction between your finger and the board. So that doesn't make bending easier. If you're playing jazz, that's perfect. You don't really bend much. And with low frets, you can lower the action of your string. And this way, it becomes kind of easier to play, especially this style of different type of music styles. But for blues especially, or anybody who wants to really bend strings all the time, you need to have that free area between your finger and the board. You don't want to have a lot of friction there because it becomes more difficult. You're able to grip the string also. Your hammer-ons and pull-offs will be much easier also when you have higher frets, so that's one thing to think about. Also, when you have lower frets, you can have higher gauges, thicker strings, and it will be kind of a little bit easier to play, because you have a lower action. So with the lower action comes the fact that you can have a tighter string. If you look at the frets from your point of view, they look like a mushroom. So the top of the mushroom is round, and when you push the string is sitting on just the top of that mushroom. And with time, when you bend strings too much and you play, it will eat out from the material of the frets itself. And what happens, it becomes flat. So it's like a mushroom, and you flatten the top of it. So for intonation, to have the good pitch, you need to have the string stop exactly in the middle. So when it becomes flat, it's not in the middle anymore. It stops a little bit more to the right side of that fret. And that's why you have, when older guitars, the fret starts to be used, it becomes more difficult to keep it in tune. Also, when you have high frets and you have strong hands, when you push down too hard on the strings, you're basically also detuning the strings. So with high frets, you have to be careful with that. And it hurts your finger too. So you need to have a balance between the frets being high enough for you to be able to make bends without having to struggle too much, and at the same time not to have detuning and feel that it's stiff on your finger, because basically you're pushing your fingers on the string, and there is nowhere you can touch the board. I like to touch the board a little bit, not too much, because a little bit makes me feel okay. I got there. I am there. I feel the fingerboard. I like to feel the fretboard. So it's important to do that. So you need to experiment and try to find the fret height that is comfortable for you. Apart from fret height, there's also the fret width. So sometimes they call them jumbo frets, which are a little bit thicker than normal. Some people find they're easier to play because it's easier to find the frets. But when you go to higher registers, it becomes a little bit more difficult to play because the distances are becoming so small, because you're taking part of the distance because the fret is too wide. So also you need to experiment to see which one you feel better. Some people say it gives you better sustain. No, I'm not too sure about that. I prefer medium. I don't like too fat or too skinny frets. So that's a good thing. Also, when the frets are high and you're sliding from one note to another, you're traveling from one note to another fret. Because the frets are high, you'll find like it's like road bumps. Your finger is hitting those frets when you're going up and down. So that's not a good feeling too. You need to have a balance in between. So thicker frets makes it easier. You don't feel those bumps as much. And lower frets also make it simple because the bumps are very low, the frets themselves. So you don't feel that when you're sliding up and down the guitar neck. Also, there's the contour of the fret, means the curve of the fret on the fretboard. Basically, they follow the fretboard. So if the fretboard radius is big, and you'll find that the curvature is light, and the smaller the radius, then you will have a more pronounced curvature. That doesn't do anything with the fret itself, except the feeling of the guitar will be different depending on the contour of that neck. Maybe we'll leave it on another time to discuss the neck contours and all that. So the frets themselves, compound is also important. That means what material those frets are done. The most popular is a little nickel and with a little bit of copper to make it bendable. But because it's easy to bend the metal itself to work with, they get used faster. So lately there have been stainless steel frets. Those stainless steel frets are a bit more expensive because they're a bit harder to work with and move, but they last forever. So you won't be able to destroy them. Remember, the guitar strings are nickel. So when you're using nickel strings on stainless steel frets, you're going to destroy your strings because nickel is weaker than the steel. The steel is going to cut. So you'll have flat strings. The string is supposed to be round. So when you bend, you're going to flatten part of it. So that's not a good thing either. So you need to change your strings more often when you're using stainless steel than when you use a regular frets compound, which is nickel and copper. If I had the choice, I won't go to stainless steel. They say it's a little bit brighter too in sound because it's too stiff. I'm not too sure. One other thing is where are the frets positioned on the neck? Well, that has to do with the scale. So there is something they call the rule of 18. Well, it's not really 18 exactly, it's 17.817. And you measure your scale from the nut to the bridge, and you divide this by 17.817. And whatever you get is the distance between the nut and the first fret. And then you repeat again. You take the distance between the first fret and the bridge and divide by 17.817. You'll get the distance between that first fret and the third fret. And you keep going. So it's a mathematical thing invented by or discovered by Pythagoras a long time ago. So it's a math thing. So don't fret too much about it. Just know that it's been done. There's rulers that are they're really coming if you don't really do your own guitar, but who cares, right? You just want to play. So the thing that changes to you, that matters to you, is the shape of that fret, and basically it's the height, the width and the height. That's the most thing that's going to change your feeling of that guitar. The distances, well, they're preset, you can't do nothing about it. And also the frets, after many years and you love your guitar, you do a refret. That means they remove them and they put new ones for you, and then you get to choose what compound. Or you can change the whole neck if you don't really like your frets. Find your target. You're going to really find what works for you, because we're all different. Size of my hand is not the same as yours. The curvature of my fingers is not exactly the same of yours. The distance between my finger knuckles are not the same as yours. So we're all different, and we have to find the one that makes us comfortable playing it. And frets is one a big part of when you're buying a guitar or you're using a guitar. If you're not comfortable, maybe try to find different size of fret, higher fret, lower fret. But in general, if you like to bend, it's what we call a taller fret, higher one. If you don't like to bend, you like just to play like jazz style, then just go with a lower. It feels easier to play. So if you're buying a new guitar, try to buy it from a local store, because most of them, they will give you one neck setup. And that's a very important thing, because usually guitars, when they manufacture them and they move them, the fret is metal, right? Type of metal, and the wood and temperature, humidity changes and all that, they move. They come out of their slot a little bit, so you will find some frets that are not really leveled, or sometimes, depending on the type of guitar you're buying, they don't really level them properly. So when you look at it, they will find, oh, I have one fret that is higher. Guess what? It's going to buzz there, because the string is going to start hitting that fret. So when you buy from a local dealer, make sure they give you one neck setup, and they will fix those high frets for you, so there will be no buzz. That's the most important thing in a guitar. You don't want a guitar that buzzes at a certain fret or certain notes. All right, so I hope we learned a little bit about frets today, and this is our last episode for this season. So we'll see you next season in 2021. Keep safe and take your vaccine, and everything will be fantastic. Take care. Bye bye.